All right, so on page 10 in our workbooks, or in our textbooks for social studies, we are talking about the state of Indiana for today. All right, so we are going to read this little excerpt at the top. It says a bird's eye view of Indiana. Do you see where it says you are there? At the beginning, it's always going to have this little you are there section. And it wants you to imagine whatever it's talking about, okay? So when you listen to this part, make sure you're trying to imagine it. The countdown begins. Your heart pounds with excitement. You're going to be first student to fly into space and orbit Earth. For 90 minutes, you'll be circling 125 miles above Earth's surface. In school, you learned about fellow Hoosier Gus Grissom. In 1961, he became the second American to fly into space. His journey in the Liberty Bell 7 space capsule lasted about 15 minutes and 37 seconds. As you prepare for takeoff, you think of your home state. Your job on this trip is to observe Indiana from space. The countdown ends and you are on your way. Okay? So, now look at page 11. It says, the view from above. You watch land and winding rivers grow smaller as your spaceship climbs higher. Before you know it, you are high above Earth, looking down on the planet as Gus Grissom may have many years ago. From here, you notice that the Earth is round, like the globe in your classroom. In order to make our globe easier to study, we divide it into halves. We call these halves of the globe hemispheres. All right. So, this is a globe. Okay? In our globe, we have hemispheres. They just said when you divide the globe in half, it is a hemisphere. So, do you see this line? Joseph, do you see this line? Open up to page 11. Page 11.
That line is called equation.
So this line right here, everyone needs to look. Head up. This line is called the equator. Okay? Everyone say equator.
Equator.
We will talk about that in just a second because that's in our book too. The equator divides the northern and southern hemisphere, okay? Because when we talk about directions, we usually see a compass rose, right? And I want to make sure, yep. Okay, so we have never eat soggy worms. Okay? I was always raised with worms. All right. So, never eat soggy worms or waffles, whatever you want to remember. Okay? So, voice is off. So, we now will look and see. So, if this is the line that divides it in half, this is our northern hemisphere. This is our southern hemisphere. Good. Now, do you see the dotted line?
Yes.
That divides it? Joseph, look up here. Do you see the dotted line that divides it up and down? This divides, there it is. It divides it by our western and eastern hemisphere. Okay? So, we gotta go all the way over here to the U.S. Okay? So, right here is the United States. Okay? So, and Indiana is just right here, just a little spot. Okay? So, Indiana, is it in the northern or southern hemisphere? Northern. And if it's over here, is it in my western or eastern hemisphere? Western. So, it's in our northwest hemisphere. Okay? Because if we just say it's in the northern hemisphere, okay, but so is part of Africa and Europe, and then Asia, right? So if we just say, oh, we're in the northern hemisphere, that doesn't narrow it down, right? But if we say we're in the northwest hemisphere, that narrows it down a little more, right? Okay, let's keep reading. We use the equator to divide Earth into northern and southern hemispheres. The equator is the imaginary line that circles Earth midway between the north and south poles. So do you think that if you rode in a boat, a ship, you sailed to the equator, that there's just going to be this big line, this big wall, and it's just dividing in half? No. But it is in the imaginary line that marks the midway point, okay? Places to the south of the equator are in the southern hemisphere. Places to the north are in the northern hemisphere. Indiana is in the northern hemisphere. To divide the globe into eastern and western halves, we use the imaginary line that extends from the North Pole to the South Pole. We call this the prime meridian. Everyone say prime meridian.
Prime meridian.
And that divides it up and down between eastern and western, okay? It passes through Greenwich, England. Places east of Greenwich are in the eastern hemisphere. Places west of Greenwich, such as Indiana, are in the western hemisphere. Okay, so imagine, look at this. This line goes through part of England, part of France. It divides part of Africa. So could you imagine, because like countries are different. A lot of other countries don't have states like we do, right? But could you imagine if you lived in France and you just passed this little line and you're like, oh, everyone else in France lives in the west or eastern hemisphere, but I live in the western because I'm on this little spot here. That'd be kind of weird, right? Yeah. A little confusing. All right. Go ahead and turn the page. North America and the world. Sit down, sweet. Looking down from space, the next thing that you notice is how much water you see. Water in the form of oceans, lakes, and rivers covers about 70% of the Earth's surface. So, 70% out of 100 means that only 30% of the world is not water. Yep. You can also see the large areas of land. We call these areas continents. There are 7 continents in the earth. Okay? There's North America, South America, Africa, Asia. I'm just saying this. You guys look like you're trying to find it. Europe, Antarctica, and Australia. Okay? So, those are the 7 continents. So North America, if you look, North America just isn't the United States. North America is the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Okay? So, it's not just a lot of times when we think of North America, we think it's just the U.S., but it's not. It's Canada and Mexico too. Okay? All right. North America. All right. There are 7 continents. I guess it did list it. Africa, Australia, Asia, Antarctica, Europe, North America, and South America. North America is made up of several countries, including Canada, Mexico, and the United States. The United States is made up of 50 states, and one of them is Indiana. A Hoosier writer has described his state as not out west or way down east or up north or south in Dixie. Rather, it's smack in the middle of America. There's an area called Midwestern, right? We're in the Midwest. We're not to the east. We're not to the west. We're just kind of in the middle, right? And we're not that far up north. We're not way down south. We're just, again, kind of in the middle, right? All right. This next sentence is important. It is going to come up a lot. Indiana's state motto is the Crossroads of America. Everyone say, Crossroads of America.
Crossroads of America.
Everyone should be looking at their book, following along. and it describes its central location along roads, rivers, and train lines. So it's called the Crossroads of America because of all of its transportation. So like it's right up against roads that go from states to states, rivers, and train lines. We will talk more soon about the fact that the rivers and the train lines really did affect Indiana becoming the Crossroads of America because that's how goods got moved. Okay, we'll talk more about that at another time. All right. Today, more major highways pass through Indiana than through any other state. So there are more major highways, so like busy, big, connecting highways to other states than any other state. Sizing up Indiana. Look at the map. You can see that Indiana is shaped almost like a boot. The state is nearly 180 miles wide, and its greatest width is about 285 miles long at its greatest length. It has an area of 36,420 square miles. Indiana is the 38th largest state. The largest state is Alaska and is about 590,000 square miles. It would take more than 16 Indianas to fill Alaska. Indiana has neighbors on all four sides. Okay, so to the north is Michigan. Okay, Ohio is on the east, Kentucky is on the south, and Illinois is on the west. Okay, so we have Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky, and Illinois all touch us and border us on this side. Border means we share that border, right? Our state ends and another state begins. As you will read later, Indiana was once part of a large area called the Northwest Territory. This was later divided into two parts, the Northwest Territory and the Indiana Territory. How people formed these territories and made them into states is part of our exciting history. So if you turn the page to page 14, you are now looking at where it says Map Adventure. Okay, everyone should be on page 14 looking at Map Adventure. Some of you still need to turn the page to page 14 to Map Adventure. Thank you. So we will actually hopefully do a fun activity in the near future with these cities and towns and things. But right now we're just going to kind of look. So Indiana has many towns, cities, and areas with claims to fame. Read the description of each place, then follow these steps. So number 1 says that we will do this later, but I want you guys to just look. Do you guys see, look on the map. We talked about maps and reading yesterday, or no, 2 days ago. And with that, we looked at it, and we also talked about how you can have symbol maps, right? This is kind of a symbol map. There's a symbol there, and we have to see what it connects to, right? So look at the very bottom. Do you guys see the roller coaster?
Yeah.
The very bottom of the map. You see the roller coaster? Yep. It's at Santa Claus, right? So look at Santa Claus on our city and description, the bold Santa Claus. Home of the first amusement park in the nation, Holiday World. Okay? So then, do you guys see the race car in the middle?
Yep.
It says Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So let's look at that one. It says home of the Indy 500. Okay? Do you see the guy shooting the basketball? It says Newcastle. So look at Newcastle. Home of the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame. Okay? So take a minute and look at that. And there is going to be a pause so people can look, and then there will be a second video. Thanks.